Hello everyone, it's the weekend. Welcome again to Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. It's the cricket program where we look at the sport not only in the region but internationally as well. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Hello to all of our friends on Sportsmax or Scene TV or wherever you're watching this broadcast. The big news this week in the sport of cricket has been about Sunil Narine being called for throwing, and it meant that he lost his place in the finals of the Champions League T20 tournament. We have on the program this week Umpire Gregory Brathwaite. He's an international umpire, to talk about that action and also about why players these days are being called more than ever before. Also, the Barbados Tridents are back home from that CLT20 tournament. Craig Cozier, who is a well-known journalist and of course a broadcaster and producer, he's going to be talking about why the Tridents failed to win at least 3 of 4 of those matches that they played in India. All this to come on Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. Don't move a muscle.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
I live cool, I live fresh, I live life without the stress. Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Lima Call. Feel the energy, feel the breeze, I feel like doing as I please. Relaxation comes with these, I live cool with Lima Call.
Live cool with Lima Call and feel the freshness of a breeze in a bottle. Lima Call is trusted the world over and gives that easy, breezy Caribbean feel to all.
Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Lima Call.
So welcome back to the show on Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. The biggest news in cricket this week has been about Sunil Narine being banned from bowling in that tournament to the Champions League. Craig Cozier is here with me, of course, a well-known cricket journalist, producer, and a statistician. Craig, you know, we're going to talk to Gregory Brathwaite, international umpire, in a moment about this. But do you think that him being called in the Champions League, although it's a domestic tournament, do you think it will have some impact on his international career, how he goes forward?
Well, obviously he's banned from bowling in the final, which is a big blow for KKR. It doesn't affect his bowling in international cricket, but as you said, it surely will make an impact going forward. He's bowling in India, and they want the internationals coming up, and obviously the ICC have mandated umpires and match referees to look out for these kind of suspect actions, and Narine is obviously on the radar, so it will affect him. His confidence may be shot. It will be interesting to see how he reacts to that kind of pressure.
I was just going to ask you that, because given the fact that he is called the kingpin, the mystery spinner, he's so highly touted around the world, will this affect his confidence? Because the CLT20 is just as big in terms of viewership as the IPL.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously when he first came into the West Indies setup, it was 2011. He was reported by the Caribbean umpires here in 2011. But he's since been cleared. He's been playing international cricket. He's been a star at the IPL. He's been a star in international cricket, and there have been no mumbles about his action. So this now is obviously a setback for him, and it will affect his confidence. It will affect his varieties, because the umpires have said that is a specific delivery, not all his deliveries.
The faster ball.
Yeah, so he
which
will,
is one of his biggest weapons.
Well, he will have to adjust, and he will have to get clarification and then move forward. But I think he is strong enough. I don't think his action is as suspect as some others in the game. We've seen a Saeed Ajmal being, they said is almost 40 degrees. I think Narine does have a kink, but I think when he goes for tests, I hope, and I think that he can correct it if it is problematic, and I think he will bounce back from this setback, and he will be a star for years to come.
All right, well, look, Andrew Seeley, our co-host, is down at Kensington Oval. There he caught up with international umpire Gregory Brathwaite, who obviously would have umpired in several games that Sunil Narine would have bowled in, and he is indeed one of the main men in the Lima Call Caribbean Premier League. Let's see what he says about Narine and his action.
I think that the ICC has given strict instructions that it's about time that we start to look at the actions, not just of spin bowlers, but all bowlers, because we've been hearing, and lots of people who have been following the game have been commenting about the action of several bowlers, and I think that a lot of this has come on the advent of the allowable 15 degrees, because obviously watching on, it is difficult for you to gauge what is 15 degrees, what is 16, what is 13, and therefore the process is a simple one where umpires report for suspect action. That's all we can do. We report for a suspect action because we suspect that it is actually more than the allowable 15 degrees. And on the advent of what's happening in Test cricket, people are, especially the spinners, a lot of them are trying to find new deliveries to obviously try to get more wickets. Because if you're an off-spin bowler, for example, and the only thing you bowl is that off break, it is difficult for you, especially with all of the innovations of the batsmen, with all the different shots now in the T20 and the 50 over format. It's a little difficult for you to just have a single delivery to bowl to that batsman. If he knows that that ball is just spinning into him all the time, he will create shots, and you need to counter that. So a lot of bowlers are trying new things to counter that.
Okay, tell us about the process, because you mentioned the process of calling a bowler for an action that you consider to be suspect. What's that process like?
Well, first, Andrew, let me explain that with respect to the law speaks about the illegal action or no ball, being that when the bowler, with his bowling arm, once he's reached his shoulder length, the action then goes to the elbow. Once he's reached the shoulder length, any straightening, partial or complete, of the elbow between there and the delivery of the ball is what we're looking at. It's that flex. So a bowler can come here, up to shoulder length, and what happens with the elbow beyond there, from the shoulder length through to delivery, is what we're looking for in terms of that 15 degrees. And that's why sometimes you hear people talk about bowlers like Malinga and Fidel Edwards with their actions.
They're slinging.
They sling, but their arms remain straight. There's no elbow movement through from shoulder to delivery. So that action remains legal. But what we found is that with a lot of the spinners, when they get here, the normal off break, for example, it is easier for a bowler to come straight over. When he's going to do something, he has to try to get the ball go the other way. There's a lot more elbow movement, and that's why you find a lot of the off spinners particularly are being called.
How can you identify during a game? Do you actually do it during the game, or do you observe the video via the third umpire or the fourth umpire after the game?
Well, with a trained eye, Andrew, to be honest, umpires pick up what looks abnormal. Okay. And in a TV game, for example, and I'll use one of the examples of one of the CPL games. From the very first delivery a bowler bowled from my end, I went straight away on the radio and I said to the TV umpire, there's something funny about this action. That first ball looks wrong. Could you have a look at his action? And what happens in the TV game, then you have your TV umpire who is following this action. He's taking looks of different angles when he gets his replays. And based on that, then the team gets together, we'll discuss whether or not we think that it is suspect enough that we make a report, which is done. And if the TV umpire says, well, I think it's within, based on having a look from different angles or whatever, we may let it slide, but it's one of the players that we will look at for future. We'll keep our eye on that player.
Is that player then identified to the ICC International Umpiring Panel and the umpiring manager, or is that player left alone, having not been called for suspect action?
Well, there are a number of things that obtain, Andrew. One is if that player is identified and is reported for suspect action, the host of the tournament, for example, the CPL, if it's a regional match, then the WICB, a report is sent to them on a suspect action. The ICC, the same thing happens. A report goes to the ICC on a suspect action. In the event, however, that a player looks suspect, but you don't think he's at that place where he's bordering that 15 degrees, depending on the relationship with yourself and the coach or the management of that team, one or both umpires may have a word with them and say, look, we're having a bit of a challenge with the action. Is something that maybe you need to look at, tweak a little bit, because the possibility exists that somebody else may see it and based on what they see, they could report it. So sometimes we do give coaches and management teams a heads up. Outside of that, once the report is actually done, Andrew, there are certain procedures. Well, at the international level, for example, the first instance of report, that player has to go to its home board to be tested. And there is a time frame. I don't remember if it's 14 or 21 days, but one is 14. I think this one is 14 days. They have to be tested. And if they're tested and passed by the home board, then if they are reported again, then the ICC gets involved at the international level, and you have to go to one of the universities, either the one at Cardiff or the one in Australia, to be tested. And then the decision is made based on those reports.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
I live cool, I live fresh, I live life without the stress. Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Limacol. Feel the energy, feel the breeze, I feel like doing as I please. Relaxation comes with these, I live cool with Limacol.
Live cool with Limacol and feel the freshness of a breeze in a bottle. Limacol is trusted the world over and gives that easy, breezy Caribbean feel to all.
Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Limacol.
So we're back on the program. Interesting thoughts there from umpire Gregory Brathwaite. With me continues to be Craig Cozier. Craig, you know, you must say that the regional tournament is coming up. Does this mean now that umpires are going to be on the lookout, on the scout for players in the regional game who might have a kink or two?
Well, obviously we heard from Gregory, and the ICC has mandated it, and I'm sure all their boards, all the countries will be looking the same way, you know, telling their umpires, we must need to get rid of these suspect actions from the game. Obviously the West Indies has 6 territorial boards, and I think it goes even further than that. They need to go down to grassroots level, from primary schools up to secondary schools up to club cricket. There are guys who play in club cricket, and we know them in Barbados, all over the region, that, you know, they're accepted that they have a kink interaction. We need to correct it from there, and I know regional cricket, I hope that Gregory and all his colleagues will be taking a serious look at these guys so that, you know, we get the chuck-in controversies out of the game.
You know, Shillingford has also been called, went through that whole remedial work in Australia last year after being called in India. Marlon Samuels can't bowl the faster ball. The off-spin options of West Indies cricket are being depleted. And now Narine, playing in India still, because he'll stay there for this one-day series, the off-spin options of the West Indies are being depleted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, they're a handful. There are 3 guys. We mentioned Shillingford. Obviously, I mean, from the time he came into cricket, there was some kind of doubt about his action. You know, kink arm bowling is not illegal. You know, there is a 15 degrees, but obviously when you tread on that kind of line, you know, there will be scrutiny on the action. So you go, Shillingford is allowed to bowl again, but obviously the doozer is a problem.
Yeah.
Samuels had the faster ball was a problem. But don't forget, we have a lot of clean bowlers in cricket. We got Sunil Narine, we got Nikita Miller. We have a lot of players
who happen to be both left-arm spinners.
Absolutely, but Ashley Nurse has done well in the Champions League. You know, we got quite a few spinners coming out. Akil Hossain looks brilliant for Barbados Tridents. We have a lot of genuine spinners who do well. Beshu is a left spinner. Yeah, but Beshu a leg spinner. Yeah. So we do have a lot of spinners, and we have a lot of bowlers who are clean. So I think the move to clean up the game in terms of you know, bent arm actions is genuine, and I think it's a good thing.
Now, I want to ask you this question in regards to how the ICC are looking at players' actions. We saw earlier this year, many didn't think that Saeed Ajmal would have ever got called. We saw Senanaika from Sri Lanka. He also got called. Now, does this mean that off-spinners and the traditional way of bowling off-spin could be changed by the cricketers themselves?
Well, I mean, obviously, from Mirror League revolutionised the game, and obviously he went through his whole career under scrutiny with his bent arm action. So that was where I think then a lot more people came into the game with those kind of actions. It has reached, it's 20 years since he made his debut. So I think they've taken a long time to get to this level where they need to say, we have to make sure that actions that are illegal are rooted out of the game.
All right, when we come back on the program, we're going to stick, of course, with the discussion about what has happened at the Champions League. This time, not with the actions of bowlers, but how the Barbados Tridents got along. They're back in Barbados, didn't do too well, although they really should have won 3 at least of those 4 games. When we come back, we'll discuss that on Mass United Insurance's Line and Line.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
I live cool, I live fresh, I live life without the stress. Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Limacol. Feel the energy, feel the breeze, I feel like doing as I please. Relaxation comes with these, I live cool with Limacol.
Live cool with Limacol and feel the freshness of a breeze in a bottle. Limacol is trusted the world over and gives that easy, breezy Caribbean feel to all.
Every day I feel my best, I live cool with Limacol.
So we're back on the program. The Barbados Tridents, well, they played, I guess you can say, to the best of their ability, but could not hold on to win at least 3 of those 4 matches. I thought they should have really won the first 2. Craig, you have been to India several times. You look at the Tridents, you look at their team. Many people were saying short on batting. There was no Dwayne Smith, there was no Karim Pollard, there was no Shoaib Malik, but batting was not the problem.
Well, certainly in the first 2 games they got up to 174,
Yeah.
They did well. Jonathan Carter was a standout. He was absolutely impressive. We missed Dwayne Smith at the top of the order, but the young Sri Lankan Dilshan Munawira came in and he did brilliantly well to get us off to a wonderful start. So the first 2 games, as you say, batting was not a problem. But I think the composure in the bowling and the fielding let us down, certainly in those 2 games. Set in 174, obviously defendable totals, and we did well. We kept them down, and then we lost it at the last. I think obviously the confidence, the pressure, and those pressure situations, we didn't deal with those pressure situations well, and that cost us, as you said, the first 2 games.
You look at the fact that the fielding, like you said, the drop catches would have contributed a lot. But I want to talk about perhaps the keeping of the team. 3 keepers in 4 matches. We saw Perkins start, got dropped. Dowrich came in, didn't have a very good game, got dropped, and then Jonathan Carter filled in for the last 2 matches. There was a big keeping blunder that was made by Dowrich. Many would say was perhaps not the best of throws. What do you think about that particular instance that might have turned that entire match around had Barbados have won that game?
Well, obviously we lost the first game against the Kings 11 Punjab. That was a big blow, and we had to win the second game against the Cape Cobras. 2 runs to win off the last ball, gone down to the boundary. A good flat throw, just away from the stumps. Those pressure situations, pressure does so many things. Under pressure, you can't cope sometimes. Dowrich, maybe thought he didn't have as much time as he did, but in snatching for the ball, he dropped it. These are things that happen. I mean, I'm sure he will regret it for the rest of his life. These are things that will haunt him. But I think, obviously, as you said, the keeping situation, I think that affected the balance to some extent.
Right.
Because Perkins came in the first game. He didn't do well with the bat. They dropped him. Dowrich was put in there. He got a duck. And then they went to Carter. And I think maybe if Carter had been there at the start, the balance of the team might have been slightly better. Yeah. Because he did an efficient job in both the games he did. He's obviously a fantastic cricketer. He got a marvellous 100. His bowling, he can bowl off spin, he can bowl medium pace, and he can also wicket keep. So I think he has a big future in the game.
Now, I've said the best to last was his batting. His batting was a revelation in the tournament because we all know that Jonathan Carter has had that potential, but he was on the world stage and he came big. That was a classy 100, his 111 not out. Your thoughts on the century and him vying for the Golden Bat Award in the end?
Yeah, absolutely. 100 is fantastic batting. He showed great composure. He pushed the ball around. The balls that were there to be hit. He hit them cleanly, and he's not a big man, but he hit balls out of the park, hit sixes. So he had a complete game. What I'm concerned about with Jonathan Carter is obviously just 4 games in this tournament,
right.
And he's shown himself now to the international media, to the international viewers, that he is there, he's a star in the making. But I don't want people to get carried away with 4 matches in a 2020 tournament. What I would like to see from Jonathan Carter now is he comes back in the regional tournament
and be consistent.
He only has 2 first-class hundreds in nearly 50 games. He averages less than 30 in first-class cricket, and that is not the kind of talent that we saw at this tournament. He needs to come now and average 50 and 60 in the first-class game this season and show West Indies selectors that this 2020 tournament, he's broadened his game, but he's also a classy player in any form of the game.
Were you surprised he didn't get a pick on the A-team side?
I was, to some extent, but when you look at his first-class record, he can't complain.
Right.
He averages less than 30. Some of the other guys, Andre Fletcher, for instance, he averages more than Jonathan Carter. Carter, to me, is a more compact player than Fletcher, but he needs to show it, and that's why I say this season coming up, 2014, 2015 first-class season, is very important for Carter's development. He's 26. And he can be a mainstay of West Indies batting for some time to come if he, as you say, starts to show a bit more consistency.
Besides the fact that the team missed Pollard and Smith and Malik, there was also a question about the captaincy. Who was going to captain this team? Now that has been answered and finished, your thoughts on Riyad Emirates?
I thought he handled the team very well. I think he's a calm individual. He's not frightened to step up when under pressure. He bowled a last over there in that super over match where he bowled a very good last over. I think he handled it well. I mean, Jason Holt, I think, was kind of earmarked for the captaincy job, but he's only 22,
Yeah.
I think pushing him a bit too early. I think he needs to find his game. He's an all-rounder, now finding his way in international cricket. I think Emirates did a decent job, and overall I think I would give the team just a pass mark. Obviously, out of 4 games, if you only win 1, you can't expect anything more than just a bare pass. I was very impressed by the left-arm spinner Akil Hossain from Trinidad and Tobago. He's a young man. He did superbly well in the first-class tournament last year in the limited time he had, and he will be in the draft for all the other teams to bid for him, because Trinidad haven't included him in their 10, and I think he will be a class all-rounder for any team coming up in the future. We
spoke about Raymond Reefer last week. He didn't do well, consistently well after that 60 he made in the very first match. How can this Barbados Tridents team now try and work together to remain consistent for the CPL event in the third year next year?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Consistency is important, but a lot of the other teams, the IPL teams, Big Bash teams, they play a lot more cricket.
Right.
So, and we talked about it with the wicket keepers. The Tridents went in without a real settled plan. They moved around the wicket keepers. Raymond Reefer was settled at number 3, but then Munawir only started bowling from the last couple of games. So it was a bit of a feeling out process for the Tridents.
Got injured after getting
Absolutely, yeah. So Mendes had to go to the Asia Games, which is another issue which I couldn't understand. If you have a window for the Champions League, and Narine and Bravo are allowed to go to the Champions League and not play Test cricket, and some of the Australians are not available now for their 2020 against Pakistan. If there's a window, how does Mendes leave the Barbados Tridents and go to play Asia Games? So a bit confusing there. But as you say, I think Barbados haven't played enough cricket. The CPL was good, but when those IPL teams play 14 and 18 games every season, they start to get their formulas right. Everyone knows they're batting 6, 7, 8 and 9. Barbados were a little bit confused in terms of strategies and so on. I think Ashley Nurse probably could have been used more as a hard-hitting all-rounder. But it's difficult when you only have 4 games to get yourself into a tournament. Yeah, well said. And the Tridents came back home not doing too well at only winning 1 of the 4, but like I said, they really should have won at least 3 of those games. But critical mistakes, they'll learn from them, and I'm sure that Jonathan Carter would look back at this tournament and feel very proud. And who knows, next year we might be seeing Jonathan Carter get a IPL contract because of that big century. Remember Kieron Pollard, he only had 1 or 2 good games the year that he made it big to get into the Mumbai Indians after playing for the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force back then. So that's it for this week's program. We're going to continue to keep you in tune with what's happening with Sunil Narine, and of course when we see you next, the West Indies would have played their first match of the ODI series against India. We'll certainly be happy to review that and all that's happening in the world of cricket. That's it tonight.
tonight for Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Thanks to Craig Cozier. And earlier, we saw Gregory Brathwaite. Bye-bye for now.